Good morning, everyone. This is Fellowship of Spirit coming to you from Farmington, New Mexico in San Juan County in the northwest part of New Mexico. And we're just happy that you're here. We're having a beautiful spring day. Our weather in the last couple of days has been just delightful. And we have an exciting program for you today. Susan Barnes is going to give our opening prayer. Steve Barker is going to do our spiritual reading. And Travis from Southern California is going to give us our message today. Fred Brown is going to play our music. And so it'll be a very enjoyable and enlightening time today. We hope that you'll just sit back and relax and have an enlightening and inspiring show today. So let's do our. Are there any announcements, Jerry?
No, not at this point.
Nothing. We just have our. What in the world? How did that get on there? So I had to straighten up the screen. It got messed up some kind of way. I probably just clicked where I shouldn't have clicked. Okay, so here we go with our prelude, Fred Brown.
Hello, this is a song by Van Morrison. It comes off an album. It's gotta be going on 25 years. It's called Brand New Day. When all the dark clouds roll away, I see my freedom across the way. When it shines so bright and it gives so much light, yeah. And it comes from the sky above. It makes me feel so free, makes me feel just like me, and it shines my life with love, and it seems like, and it feels like, yes it seems like a brand new day. Lost, double-crossed, with my hands tied behind my back. I was a long time hurt, thrown in the dirt, yeah, shoved out on that railroad track. I've been used, so damn abused, and I didn't have nowhere to run, but I stood and I looked, and my eyes, they got hurt on that beautiful morning sun. Oh, and it feels like, yes, it feels like a brand new day, yeah, and it seems like, and it feels like, it all the ground. And this grass is so green, and my heart grew still, and I got the will. Now I don't really feel so bad. Well, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes right now. And it always comes right in on time. Well, it eases me and it pleases me, and it satisfies my mind, and it feels like, and it seems like, and it feels like a brand new day, brand new day. I said it feels like, yes, it seems like brand new day, brand new day.
All right, let's give Fred a big hand. Thank you, Fred.
That's man to man.
All right. Just trying to get myself situated and oriented.
What's your coffee?
Yeah, all right. So now we're going to have Susan Barnes is going to lead us in prayer.
Good morning. Okay, if we can close our eyes, take a deep breath, and allow that energy, that God source, to flow through our crown chakra, throughout our whole body. Creator, Mother, Father, God, we give thanks for this day, for all the blessings that you have brought to us. We ask for your blessings upon not only ourselves, but for all of our loved ones, our families, all those far and near who are in our thoughts. We ask you to be with those who have made their transitions lately, that they may find safe passage to the other side. We give thanks, Creator, for our good health and for our abilities to be light, that we allow your light to shine through us. And we do this every Sunday through our fellowship, one with the other. It helps to strengthen us, to nourish us, and to know who we truly are. We give thanks knowing that we are truly children of the divine, and because of this, we can extend your love, your blessings to all that we teach today and every day. For all these things, we truly give thanks. Namaste.
Namaste. I did have a sort of an announcement. We've had him speak here a couple of times, Noah Shapiro from Taos, and I talked to him recently, and he went over to, he is in Israel. I think he is there still right now, so we might include him in our prayers, because Israel is not a real safe place today. It's probably not as bad as it was last night, where there were a lot of attacks on there. We don't know. The whole Middle East is unsettled, And so anyone traveling there is probably in more danger than they would be in Cincinnati. I don't know. So anyway, if you would just keep him in mind. I did ask him, I talked to him before he left, and I asked him to write down his experiences while he was over there so that he could come back and share with us, from a hands-on experience of what's happening over there. So it would be good. All right, so let us do another song. This is one that everyone knows, so feel free to sing along. I don't know what page it is on, but it is Amazing Grace. Oh, it's on on number 16, Amazing Grace.
Sure, which one's next? All right.
Is that it?
That'll work.
Okay.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear and peace my fear relieved. How precious is that grace appeared the hour I first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Too many dangerous toils and snares I have already come. This grace hath taught me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the stars, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. We sing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Yeah. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but
you, Fred. You're sounding especially wonderful today. All
It
right.
happens when I'm tired.
Well, let us repeat our reflective moment together. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I feel privileged to be here.
Amen.
Love flows from one person to another, and we create an atmosphere of holiness, and so it is.
Yes.
And that's what we do here. We try to create an atmosphere or an environment that is conducive to spiritual growth and a better understanding of love. And that's what we're all about. So anyway, so now we are going to do our spiritual reading. Steve Barker has something for us.
I had to do a quick study in the library back there, but I was kind of drawn to this guy, John Waterhouse, because I attended one of the INTA conventions, and he was a keynote speaker there, and got to meet him, and I really like how he resonates. So this one is called The Wholeness of Physical Form, from Science of Mind Daily Guides. The wholeness of physical form. Perhaps the most spiritual thing any of us can do is simply to look through our own eyes and see with eyes of wholeness and act with integrity and kindness. That's by John Kabat-Zinn. The earth contains untold riches. The very air is vibrant with power. And that's from Ernest Holmes. As metaphysicians, we most likely think of wholeness as an exclusively spiritual concept. However, wholeness also applies to how we function on this earthly plane. Our bodies exist within a wholeness that is absolute as our spiritual nature. We look at our bodies and we see them as separate from one another, but that's an illusion. As we breathe, we receive airborne particles from other organisms. Say that 3 times.
It's easy for you to say.
Plants, animals, and yes, other human bodies. It takes only seconds when someone walks into a room for this exchange to begin. This also appears to our energetic interactions, which impact our relationship, our work, our money, and all of our exchanges of goods and services. We live on a planet that functions holistically. The Earth's surface has a positive electrical charge. 50 miles up is what's called the ionosphere, which has a negative electrical charge. The in-between is an electrostatic field that holds everything to the planet like a magnet. It functions jello with raisins. It functions jello with raisins.
Like Jello with me.
I guess they missed the like or something.
Yeah.
As a result, when one raisin vibrates, all raisins vibrate. Quantum mechanics explains that every particle of energy emits an associated information wave that moves faster than the speed of light. As a result, we all are interconnected and constantly influenced by one another's thoughts and emotions. And the affirmation is, I celebrate the oneness of my journey on planet Earth by seeing the divine in all things. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So I want to acknowledge those people on Zoom. Is Susan Barnes, of course, she's down in Belize and she's online. And Carol Littletree coming to us from the west part of the county. So hi, Carol. Glad you're here, hon. Okay. Let's see. We have another song. Are you going to do Peace Like a River?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Fred Brown, Peace Like a River. I got peace like a river.
Well, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. Peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. 'Cause I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain in my soul. I've got love like a mountain. I've got love just like a mountain. I've got love like a mountain in my soul. Cause I've got joy, it's just like a fountain. I've got joy just like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy just like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. 'Cause I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace just like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. In my soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that should set you up and prepare you for Travis's talk today. Are you ready, Travis?
I've been set up and prepared for it. Yes, indeed.
All right, here we go. We are well acquainted with our brother from California, Travis. And so we welcome you, Travis, and we're just anxious to hear what you have to say. So go for it.
Yeah, I'm anxious too. So, listen, something's come about here with listening to the reading from Steve and the music from Fred. You might be familiar with the fact that if you buy an old rock and roll album on a CD, they have so much room that they often include bonus tracks. Well, I had in mind a bonus track for my message today. And because I don't want to close with it, unlike a CD, I'm going to put it right at the front. And I'm going to be referencing the NOVA program, Your Brain, Who's in Control, quite a bit. And for those that might be prompted to look at that program or watch it and are in the habit of taking notes, this is from the 31st minute of Your Brain, Who's in Control. And it's really relevant to the idea of peace and the oneness and the unity and everything I've been hearing throughout, as we prepare for this message today. In the 31st minute, It says, at the end of World War II, the Germans imposed man-made famine upon the Netherlands in response to their decision to protest through the country. There was starvation, death, and trauma. Sounds a little bit too familiar. Dr. Berlin says, not only those who suffered during the famine experienced health problems, but some of their children and even their grandchildren had metabolic issues. How can that be? Researchers began to discover that your environment and your experience can change the way your genes are activated in your body and in your brain. Dr. Marlin says, it's not like you get your genes and it's set in stone. They're constantly changing based on the environment. Experiments with mice showed that when factors in the environment are determined to be crucial, the body changes to enhance perception of those factors. Those changes were passed down to the next generation. There's a memory that is somehow maintained in sperm and egg through implantation, a change in evolution over the time span of one generation. So in addition to generating the need for care for veterans, amputees, and all these people maimed by war, we're affecting future generations. And they're not even mentioning the fact that for those that believe in reincarnation, the people that are affected by these experiences here and now will come back still dealing with these issues. So what I'm wanting to say is, for those of us that are expressing an interest and a desire to live in a world that is at peace, look at what we as a global community are allowing the leaders of our countries to do to the citizens of other countries. Look what we're doing to those who are people who will be in this world in the future as well as right now. And I'm wanting to move into advocacy, which brings about people of all nations gathering, holding one another's hands and standing up and expressing the desire to live in a world of peace and communicating to their leaders to stop scaring and threatening other countries. It's up to us, the people. Leaders of countries aren't going to do it. It doesn't seem. That's not the type of people that seem to be leading countries. And with all that said, well, that's my bonus CD track for the day. And now I'll move on to today's message. The Case for Grace, Part 2. And I want to just step back for a minute to the previous message that I did about 9 or 10 weeks ago. It wasn't part 1 because I didn't know until I got into it that part 2 would be a necessity. There's a couple of really key points, though, that I want to revisit. And again, their perspective in these studies called Your Brain, Perception Deception, and then the second program, which we'll be dealing with mostly, Your Brain, Who's in Control? They ask, how does matter become thought? And so they're bound to delve into things in a little bit different way than we in New Thought, who think about how we work with that dynamic by which thought becomes matter. So we're looking at it the other way around. And so one of the things we saw right away is that they elaborated greatly on the idea that the brain is getting very little information and uses that information to make a big grand model of the world. And they say that our sampling of the world through our senses is very limited. And so that our brains fill in with its best guess of what the whole world is that we are experiencing. And they used vision as a great example as to how as exemplifying that very fact. Dr. Castillery said, it's not fair to say that we completely confabulate the world, but we represent only about 1% of the visual world at any instant. And there's a constant updating, and here comes the very key point. Constant updating of what's coming in through our senses, and that considered versus what I remember and versus what I expect, provide a situation where the dance between these three factors gives each one of us our sense of reality. And so it really grounded me in why we've heard over the years people talking about how we have a tendency to project our reality, project our ideas onto others, and think they should that our reality, our ideas should be obvious to others because we think we're like that's something that we have in common is our sense of reality, and we absolutely do not. And the emphasis that we hear so often on Sunday mornings and in other situations about how what the importance of listening to others is, and set aside our agendas of the things we want to say, listen, because since our memories and our expectations are unique to every one of us and every person in the world, and those two factors then make for each one of us a unique sense of reality. There's no reason whatsoever to think we know what another person's reality is, what they're going through, what they should do. I can't tell you. I remember, I think it was with both Tom Brady and with Kobe Bryant when they decided to come back for another reason. And I'd be in a sports bar and people would be saying, well, he should have known better. No, he shouldn't come back for another year. And I'm thinking, how can you be so arrogant to think you know what somebody else should do? You're not living in their reality. And there it is. This is the foundational reason why, because each one of us has a unique sense of reality. Every time we wake up, they say here, our brain stitches together all of our sensory inputs into an experience of the world, which is an awareness of the world that scientists call consciousness. And they also mention that consciousness means something very different to many people, but that's what they're working with. They're working what our brain stitches together from all our sensory inputs. Where they're working with that as if each person is a self-contained unit. But a lot of us have a different sense of consciousness. Like myself, I practice awareness of life that is not of this world. Even before I open my eyes in the morning, I may be thinking about how I will be expressing uniquely this one life as it shows up as me. And that has nothing to do with my brain stitching together my sensory inputs. I haven't even started that yet. I'm thinking of something that I say brought this world into existence in the first place. Moving on, Dr. Berlin says, just like our perceptions, our sense of self is dynamic, built to serve us in the present. He says, I've learned that my brain is an exquisite machine that perceives reality in the service of survival, not accuracy. In the service of survival, not accuracy. Very interesting statement. Dr. Fenton says the brain is a storytelling machine, right? It's a machine that's designed to make predictions. So let's say, for an example, I observe somebody coming out a door and trying to restrain a big dog, but it slips by them out the door and it's running toward me. So I may have like a reality where I'm predicting that I may very well be attacked and bitten, and that I need to conduct myself accordingly and seek to be protected somehow. And so that's a prediction that the brain is working for my survival, not accuracy, because it may turn out that the dog is absolutely friendly. So that it wasn't an accurate prediction, but it was my brain working in the service of survival, built to serve me in the present, a dynamic sense of self, serving me in the present, even though I say my sense of self is not, my sense of self is not anchored in the present. My sense of self is anchored in my memories, in my expectations. You know, the here and now is the present. So their sense of self is built from past experiences. It's not really connected to the here and now, as I'm accustomed to trying to live my life. So that idea of the dog, I may be attacked and bitten, is not, may not turn out to be accurate, but my brain is in the service of survival. Brain function is fast. It's automatic. It serves me in urgent situations to recognize when there may be danger, when I may be needing to act quickly and efficiently. And that's very useful. But how many inaccuracies that are showing up as beliefs that have no real value are being used by me in automatic reactions? Inaccuracies like, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I hope you're recognizing these as inaccuracies. People are out to get you. Or what about the song by Eric Burden and the Animals? It's a hard world to get a break in. All the good things have been taken. Yeah, there's a good affirmation. I've seen that ridiculous bumper sticker. Life's a bitch and then you die. Good luck with those beliefs. As you believe, so will be your fate. Fortunately, in New Thought, we understand that we can get away from the common experience of serving a life term as cellmates with our false beliefs. We learn how to adopt new, different, supportive beliefs as substitutes for those beliefs that were counterproductive. You know, those beliefs that we developed when we were toddlers and infants and preschool children and school children, and beliefs that were about survival. Remember, our brains serving us in survival and causing us in our adult years to react inappropriately based on things from when we were children that are no longer relevant. And it is in this way that they say here in the program, our unconscious makes a lot of everyday decisions for us when we react rather than respond, as we like to say in New Thought. Respond meaning we're conscious of what we're doing and considering whether or not what we're doing is appropriate here and now, in this here and now. Our salvation lies in being able to choose what the content of our unconscious is. Because if we work at it long enough, adopting those new beliefs that are supportive, they will begin to take over our unconscious, so that our automatic reactions are more relevant to the here and now. And that's an ideal situation, bringing that about, but it takes discipline and work. Now, returning to my first note from the second program, Your Brain, Who's in Control, I read, your personality, everything you think and feel, who you are is in the brain. And that is a recurring message throughout both of these programs. And I balk a little bit at that, but that's okay. It's okay, because I can derive a lot of benefit from going over through these programs. And that's Dr. Cass' theory goes on. Well, I want to comment on that. I say that saying that your personality, everything you think and feel, who you are is in the brain is absolutely correct for someone who thinks that they are of this world. But then what about me? I think I am in this world, but not of it. So I reach beyond this world, beyond perceptions to fill in this sense of self and this idea of who I am. Dr. Cass' theory actually, and as we go through these programs, this statement that I just read is recurring, as I said, and seems to be what they're saying our reality is as individuals. But now Dr. Cass' theory says the narratives that we tell ourselves are the biggest illusions that we ever participate in. So calling that statement to question, even though it's a dynamic and it's a function for people who think of themselves as only of this world. Dr. Martinez Conde goes on to say, your sense of who you are is an illusion, as everything else. You're no exception. Again, what about me? I have to say, no, it is not an illusion. And yes, I am an exception. I understand why she would say this, being involved as she is in the study of the brain, but I feel like asking, you talking to me? You talking to me? Well, in the 22nd minute, halfway through the 22nd minute of your brain, who's in control, it says inside your brain are over 100 distinct regions. And this prompts Dr. Nancy Kanwisher, PhD at MIT, KEY. She says, and so a search for where am I in all of this is a little bit misguided because the I is not such a unitary thing in the first place. And that makes sense in their study. But I'm thinking, well, I have a car, and my car it may not have 100 distinct regions, but it has a lot of systems. It has air conditioning and heat. It has the brake system. It has the drivetrain. It has the engine. It has the electrical systems that run the lights. It has the radio, the sound system. And all of this, all these systems working together are nevertheless one vehicle. And with my 100 distinct regions in my brain, over 100, am I not one vehicle for the expression of life? Dr. Cass' theory says that feeling of unity of me is actually distributed across almost 90 billion neurons. This is illusion that there's a single person inside of our skulls. So what's the point here? It makes me think of Eckhart Tolle. You know, Eckhart Tolle in that, I think it was in A New Earth, tells a story of how he got started on this spiritual path. The question that startled in him into awareness. And that question was, as he sat on a park bench, feeling very unhealthy and in depression. I think his wife had passed. It's been a long time ago since I read that, but he had the thought, you know, I just don't know if I could continue living with myself. And then he thought, living with myself? How many of me are there? Well, he discovered that there is his self that is anchored in the past, in his memories, and how they generate expectations. You know, like the memories and the way things have been in his life will continue to have momentum and be that way in the future. And then he realized that there is the self that is anchored in the here and now, the self that asks the question, how many of me are there? The self anchored in the present with all the potential newness that is there. So I'm going to suggest an alternate perspective. So much of this study of the brain made me think, What if I study the technology of a radio? It's not plugged in, so the antenna is not operating, and I can study its circuitry. I can look at the controls, perhaps mechanisms. I have an old radio in my kitchen, an old radio with tubes in it, where you can, when you turn the dial, there's a pulley system that moves the indicator along the dial that shows you what frequency you're on. I can study all that, and all that taken together, I could say that defines a radio. But that does not address what a radio is for. Everything that a radio is not contained in its case, in its housing. When plugged in, it connects to a greater reality that includes the radio waves that it is receiving. To omit that is to miss why a radio even exists in the first place. So let's now turn to us. I believe it was Ernest Holmes who originally said, he might have been quoting Emerson, as he often did. He quoted so many wise people, but I think it was original with Ernest Holmes that he said, we are not wholly contained between our hats and our boots. I was once conducting 2 classes at the same time in Sochi. I was teaching a Science of Mind accredited course on a book by Thomas Troward. The class was called Edinburgh Lectures. At the same time, I had an ongoing workshop using a classic book by John Bradshaw for inner child work. And it came to pass, it was so amazing to me that I started the class one week, I started this another week, and then in the same week, both Thomas Troward and John Bradshaw made reference to an apparent anatomical feature that we have that actually acts as transmitter and receiver for mind beyond us, for life beyond us. We in New Thought go beyond what the mission is of the studies that we're referencing in your brain that I've been talking about this talk and the last one. We put the brain and the person housing the brain into context as being connected to something outside of itself. And that way, we address the idea of like, what are we even here for? Like, why does the radio even exist? It's got to be plugged in. We need to be plugged in. So I'm beginning to wonder in these programs as I went through the second one, Your Brain, Who's in Control, will they ever get to this connection with something beyond the brain and our sensory perceptions? And so I'm going to jump ahead in the interest of time and skip through a lot of really interesting material that elaborates on the fact that much of the time we are not in control of what we are doing. I highly recommend viewing both of these programs on these NOVA programs. And I'm going to jump ahead, if you're taking notes, to the 45th second of the 45th minute. Easy to remember, 45, like the RPMs of your singles that you play on your record player. There are some situations, they say, where letting go of control can have amazing results. Dr. Charles Lim, neuroscientist at University of California, San Francisco, says, when you're playing the blues, you have this kind of well-known musical structure, this template, and then you use that as a launch pad for improvisation, for innovation, and for new ideas. You see, he's trying to understand how our brain operates when we are being truly creative. He did an experiment having a rapper in an MRI machine recite something memorized and then switch over to improvisation. Now, in the 48th minute of our program, Dr. Berlin says, So what does spontaneous creativity look like in the brain? And Dr. Lim answers that. What we found was that the prefrontal cortex that appears to be linked to effortful self-monitoring seems to be turning off. You know, we talked about the prefrontal cortex 9 or 10 weeks ago. It has to do with morality. It has to do with decision making and effort. He says this effortful self-monitoring seems to be turning off, deactivating in a pretty intense way in these highly trained professional musicians when they start improvising. Back to Dr. Berlin, who says in some cases, by letting go, by decreasing activation in the prefrontal cortex, we can sort of gain control of our lives in a way. Dr. Lim goes back to Dr. Lim saying, in fact, if you're too self-conscious and you're unable to relax and let go, you can't do something like this. When you start trying to put in effect a conscious control mechanism, your performance goes down, you get worse. And I'm thinking this relates to like when we're trying to control things in our life, trying to make things happen. When you start trying to put into effect a conscious control mechanism, your performance goes down. Very interesting. Berlin notes that this goes for any activity such as professional sports. I noticed this long ago when I used to play a lot of pool and snooker, that if I overthought a shot, I'd do much worse than I just let it flow and just got in position as if I knew exactly how to do it without thinking about it. The more you're able to practice letting go, once you've learned the skill, the better you'll be. Notice this emphasis on letting go that they've got here. Like we sing in the Ricky Byers song, I release and I let go. This idea of letting go and let God. They go on to say that free throw shooters that can hit 99% of their free throws when they're in practice will fare much worse if they're told they'll get paid $1 million if they make the next shot. They inject conscious control over something. Here, it's key, over something that's much better left to its own subconsciousness. So we're making some real progress here talking about creativity. Notice, though, that there is nothing here said or referencing something new being generated from beyond ourselves as self-contained units. And that makes sense. They're studying the unplugged in human being, how the brain works. They don't need to go beyond that for these studies and for what is to be gleaned from what they've learned here. But it's like the radio. They're studying the brain not plugged in. The antenna is not operational. We are plugged in. That's beyond the scope of their studies. Maybe they can't get too woo-woo and sustain credibility. I don't know. Dr. Lim says, you use a well-known musical structure as a launch pad for improvisation, for innovation, and for new ideas. But they are not accounting for where those new ideas come from. They refer to something that's not much better, they refer to something that's much better left to its own subconsciousness. So are they presenting subconsciousness as a source for new ideas? Reality, now remember, reality in these programs results from the dance between what's coming in through my senses and what my memories and expectations are. So how does the new fit into this equation? And so I started looking at these words and looking them up. Consciousness is, they said consciousness is really having, earlier in the program, in the 13th minute, they said consciousness is really having active cognitive processing to think and act. And so I looked up cognitive. And they may be thinking of cognitive in the sense of perception and reasoning, everything that is received by and processed in the brain. But in this definition in the dictionary, it says that which can be known by perception, reasoning, or intuition. So then I looked up intuition to see if Ernest Holmes had something to say about it. And oh boy, does he ever have something to say about intuition? Intuition is God in man, revealing to him the realities of being. Now, how far does that go beyond what's coming in our physical senses? Just as instinct guides the animal, so would intuition guide man if he would allow it to operate through him. This ability to know without any process of reasoning. So this has taken us beyond what their studies. They do mention, though, cognitive processing. Now I began to think about the new and how it comes through our antenna, which connects us to beyond ourselves, to that which says, behold, I make all things new. And I thought about, they're not saying, I went back and looked through these programs at all my notes, and they don't say anything about imagination. No reference to imagination whatsoever. But it is, if you were in a court of law, you can say by bringing up cognitive processing, they have opened the door to imagination. So I decided to look up what does Ernest Holmes say about imagination? How is this connected to beyond us? And he says that Emile Coué announced a great truth when he said that imagination is superior to the will, but he did not explain the philosophy behind this truth. Will is an assumption, pure and simple. We do that in the brain. We do not will to live. We live because we have life and cannot help living. We did not make life and we cannot change it, but we can use it. And the use of life is through the imagination. Because this faculty has at its roots the very wellspring of life and action, imagination carries with it feeling and conviction, which means life and action. It awakens within us all the inner forces of nature and stirs into action latent powers which otherwise would never come to the surface. Imagination taps the very roots of being and utilizes the same power that brought the world forth from chaos. And I was not surprised to get all those connections of imagination to life, because I was trying to figure out what is the root of imagination. He says it's in life and being, because they haven't mentioned imagination in this study of the brain. And I'm wondering, when we are imagining, when we are visioning, are we necessarily reaching beyond ourselves? And the answer is yes. And that's where the new comes from. They have talked about it now in their study of the wrapper in the MRI machine, and talking about how athletes can do things if they have let go. So the new comes through our antenna connection with that which says, behold, I make all things new. It happens for the plugged in person, disconnected from and transcending the usual and more common thinking brain. When I spoke the first time using this material, I quoted from them in the very beginning saying that they were researching how the brain implements the mind. So the brain is a tool for the expression of mind. Matter in the brain Matter in the brain itself are effects. In New Thought and in Science of Mind, we consider the entire manifest universe, ourselves included, as being effects of a a a source, a creator, the one God, simply going through the process of knowing itself and generating activity that brings about forms reflecting its nature, its divine attributes. Life has all the capacity for making things new. We have to plug in. I have a perspective, the adoption of which ought to help us do that. Every one of us has an advocate for our own well-being. And I'm looking for how to tie this into grace, and I think it's right here, front and center, obvious. I looked up grace in the American Heritage Dictionary, and it said divine love and protection bestowed freely upon mankind, an unmerited gift from God. And when I think of us being children of God, it's not that it's a gift, it's that it's shared, it's bestowed upon us. Well, it says bestowed here, simply by the fact that we are what our Father is, Father, Mother, God is. Every one of us has an advocate for our well-being. You might not think of it in those terms, but I think you'll agree with me. There is something here in you, in me, that has infinite knowledge, and also seems to have like an interesting will. That divine knowledge is tapped into when we have a broken bone. When you have a broken bone, it gets mended. If you injure your skin, it closes up real fast if you use aloe vera on it. We have something in us that regulates our heartbeat, our breath rate, and keeps them regulated while we're asleep. We have all this going on. And all I could say is it must be the life in me that has this infinite knowledge, but it does this work for a purpose, to fully be itself. Why else would it be a built-in advocate with infinite knowledge that is 24 hours a day, every second of my life, working to move me toward functioning like according to my original design? It is constantly making adjustments and moving me in the direction of my greatest well-being. And I would say that is so that it can fully be itself right here, right now, as me. And so we trust that. We know that if we break a bone and have a cast on, it's going to mend. This is grace. We don't worry about it. We don't think about it. We don't fret and wonder what's going to happen. My skin is going to close up and be well. My broken bone is going to be healed. I'm going to continue breathing and my heart beating when I'm asleep. It's all grace. We have so much experience with grace, but we don't think about that. We don't realize it. Now let's take the next step. If life is doing this in me, well, let's not take the next step. Well, okay. Okay, there's 3 steps. Step number 2, I see this life. I see this life when the wind breaks a branch on a tree and it mends and continues growing. I see it working in other animals. I see it working in plants, how when a lizard has its loses a leg, it grows a new one. I see the life asserting itself. It's the one life in everything that's living, asserting itself so that it can fully be itself right here and now, where every entity, where every expression of life is. Now, The question is, and this is step 3, ask the question, if life is doing this in me, in my body, shouldn't I expect it to have that same intention, that same will, and that same effect in my circumstances, in my situations? Of course. Why would it not? Why would life not be active, just as active in my situations, in my outer world where I am, as it is in my body? And I assume that it is. And with experience, I've learned, yes, it is so. Life is an adequate, more than sufficient advocate for your well-being and my well-being in your world of affairs, in your circumstances, in your situations, as well as your health. If we get out of the way, if we release and let go and stop worrying, know that it's handled, know that in this way is my yoke easy, is my burden light. Glory, hallelujah. And so it is.
Thank you, Travis.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So if we could just get out of our own way, things would be better. The bottom line on that.
Just like,
That's what I heard.
just as easy as taking free throws.
There you go. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to share with Travis, or ask him or tell him or anything that's here? Well, Travis, here comes Steve.
Thanks, Travis, for concluding that series. It's really an amazing amount of study that's been going into how our brains, how our minds operate, and how they actually, you bring it to how we react with our spirit. So I really appreciate your insights, and thanks for sharing.
Well, thank you very much. It's been really an amazing process to go through these programs and see where they would lead, and collate all that they offered with you know, with the wisdom that we get from New Thought.
Yeah, and that, you know, we are not our bodies, but our bodies are an expression of who we are. It comes, and we manifest our bodies as we go along. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Yes, co-creating.
Okay, well, we thank you, Travis, for coming to us today and being with us. We missed you last month in the regular rotation, but we're glad that you're with us today, and hopefully you'll be here with us next month, hopefully.
Oh, yes, I think so. I mean, last month it was, I kept putting it off because I was hoping to plan another ski trip and be there in person, and waiting to see if I would do that kind of got me out of sequence.
Yeah, well, had to wait a while. I think a lot of the snow is gone now, or it's going. So it'll be next winter before it stuff. But
I'll be there. I'll be there.
You know, you don't have to have snow to come and visit us.
Oh, I'll be there well before that. The radio station up there is next school year is celebrating 50 years of KDOR, and I was one of the founding members. So I've got. In fact, I'm going to be moving to Durango for long periods of time. That's my intention.
Well, that'll be great. You'll be really close to us.
Yes.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to that, Travis, and we hope that you have a great week and that things go well in your world. Thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, so now Fred Brown has another song for us.
Yeah, we're just gonna do, instead of me playing that pop song, I am just gonna do Shirley Presence. So we haven't done that song in a long time.
Surely the presence of God is in Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
All right, thank you, Fred. All right. So now is our celebration of abundance. So repeat after me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Through infinity, I am prosperous. All right, thank you, Fred. And we don't have, our children didn't come in today. They're doing other things that children do, and I'm sure that they're fine and they're doing well. So are there any announcements from the congregation? No? Okay. We have stuff planned for the summer, but the summer is not quite here yet, so there's time for us to announce those things. So we now have Bill Clark to give us our closing message.
Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is delight in laughter. I love myself when I am laughing. Zora Neale Hurston. Laughter is both the result and the cause of loving ourselves. It lightens the atmosphere around us and transforms us internally. It can bring gentleness to a heavy time or increase delight in a happy moment. In laughter, we find greater contentment and a sense of hope and joy about ourselves and others and the situation we are in. I am thankful for the gift of laughter. I am pleased with myself and others when we share a good laugh. A good expression I've heard is that yawning is a storing of energy and laughter is the release of it. Y'all have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. I know that my burden is much more heavy if I can't laugh at myself. I'm taking myself too seriously, and that really just kind of multiplies my troubles. So I try not to take myself too seriously. I try not to should on myself or others. So anyway, we are glad that you were with us today. We're going to close now with some psalms. You got us ready?
He's doing his cleanup work.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America and the whole world. My home, sweet home. Sometimes. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. weave us together in unity, and yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as our power, family all are we. So let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Delay. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and
live each moment
peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
God bless you and keep you until we meet again.
Namaste.
I miss our kids, the little babies and the little.
I do
Bless
too.
How are you today?
But we put on a good show.
Who's that
We did,
gentleman you brought
we
to the
did.
shop here today?
So,
Eight tone only.
we thank you for coming and being with us today, and hope that you enjoyed our presentation and that it did some good for you, and that you will come back next week. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Till we see you again, have a good week. Bye-bye.
Part-time to